We're counting down the 9 most secret and catastrophic doomsday devices of the Cold War, from radar networks built to catch a first strike to rumored automated weapons that could end civilization. Each item earned its rank for its destructive potential, concealment, and sheer ambition. Some are backed by declassified records. Others may never be fully revealed. But which one truly ruled the era of mutually assured destruction? The story begins with the early warning systems that turned nuclear fears into real-time alerts. Number 9 on our list. Number 9. Ballistic early warning networks formed the backbone of Cold War nuclear vigilance. Starting in 1958, the Ballistic Missile Early Warning System, or BMUs, stretched from Thule in Greenland to Clear, Alaska, and Fylingdales in the UK. Massive radars scanned the Arctic skies, searching for the first sign of Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles. The distant early warning line, a chain of radar stations across the frozen north, added another layer, giving commanders up to 30 minutes notice of a possible attack. By the early 1960s, the MIDAS satellites began watching for infrared signatures from missile launches, promising even faster alerts. These systems enabled launch-on-warning doctrine, retaliate before enemy missiles could land. But every advance in detection brought new risks. False alarms, technical glitches, and misread data meant that a computer error could push the world to the brink. Early warning networks didn't launch weapons, but they compressed decision time and turned nuclear fear into a real-time, high-stakes gamble. Like and subscribe for grounded breakdowns of Cold War doomsday tech. 8th place goes to Operation Looking Glass, the airborne command post that kept the United States in the nuclear game, even if ground command vanished. Beginning in 1961, a specially equipped EC-135 aircraft circled the skies around the clock. On board, a general and crew stood ready to take control if the President or Strategic Air Command were wiped out. Their mission was clear: maintain unbroken command authority, direct nuclear forces, and, if all else failed, authorize a retaliatory strike. In 1967, the Airborne Launch Control System proved that these crews could send launch orders straight to Minuteman silos, bypassing destroyed ground posts. For nearly 30 years, Looking Glass never left the air, handing off from one plane to the next, day and night. This was the human answer to the fear of decapitation, a flying nerve center, not a machine, holding the keys to Armageddon. After 1990, the mission shifted to the Navy's E-6B Mercury, but the principle remained. As long as one plane survived, so did command. Number 7. Permissive Action Links, or PALs, brought a cold logic to the nuclear age. In the early 1960s, as US warheads spread across Europe, the fear wasn't just enemy attack. It was the risk of a rogue launch. PALs answered that fear with mechanical and electronic locks wired directly into every bomb. No correct code, no detonation. Even the most determined insider couldn't bypass a PAL without destroying the weapon itself. The two-person rule added another layer. 2 authorized officers, each with part of the code or key, had to act together. By the late 1960s, most NATO-deployed warheads carried these safeguards, but it took years before all US missiles at home followed suit. Early versions were crude, simple combination locks. Later models grew sophisticated, with encrypted logic and anti-tamper systems. PALs didn't make nuclear war less likely, but they made accidental or unauthorized use far harder. In a world obsessed with doomsday, these small devices offered a rare measure of restraint, forcing every launch decision through layers of human control. Number 6. The Safeguard. OBM Complex brought the Cold War's arms race home to American soil. Activated in 1975, this North Dakota installation was the only anti-ballistic missile system ever deployed by the United States. Its mission sounded simple: intercept incoming Soviet warheads before they could devastate key missile fields. The catch? Safeguard's Sprint and Spartan interceptors carried nuclear warheads themselves, up to 5 kilotons each. If fired in defense, they would explode high above the Midwest, trading one catastrophe for another. Congressional hearings in 1976 laid bare the dilemma. Lawmakers pressed Pentagon officials. Could a computer glitch or damage trigger a nuclear detonation over US territory, even without an enemy missile? IA memos flagged the risk of so-called fail-deadly logic, where a malfunction or sabotage might lead the system to detonate its own warheads as a last resort. Officials insisted on layers of human control, but gaps in the record left some analysts uneasy. The safeguard complex ran for less than a year before Congress shut it down. It remains a cautionary tale, a defensive shield so dangerous it threatened the very homeland it was meant to protect. Number 5. Project T-15 was the Soviet Union's bold attempt to weaponize the ocean itself. Conceived in the early 1950s, this was no ordinary torpedo. Engineers envisioned a colossal underwater missile over 24 meters long, packed with a 100 megaton nuclear warhead, twice the yield of the largest bomb ever detonated. The plan was simple and terrifying. Launch T-15 from a modified submarine, send it crawling toward enemy shores, and detonate just off the coast. The resulting tsunami and radioactive fallout would devastate entire port cities, military bases, and infrastructure with a single blast. Soviet Navy veterans, interviewed decades later, described the project as a response to fears of losing a land-based missile exchange. If Moscow fell, the ocean would strike back. Declassified design documents show the immense technical hurdles, guidance, propulsion, and survivability all proved nearly insurmountable. T-15 never left the prototype stage, but its legacy runs deep. The idea of an unstoppable underwater retaliation force kept surfacing in Soviet doctrine, fueling decades of speculation about seabed weapons and automated oceanic drones. Project T-15 stands as a grim reminder of how far Cold War planners were willing to go, turning the world's coastlines into potential ground zero. Number 4. Emergency action documents and the Strategic Air Command target list reveal the scale of destruction planned at the height of the Cold War. In 1959, the US Strategic Air Command compiled a classified list of more than 2,300 targets for nuclear attack. Over 1,200 of these were population centers, cities, towns, and industrial hubs marked for elimination in the first wave. The logic was cold and systematic. Erase the enemy's military and the society that supports it. These lists weren't just theory. They were mapped, updated, and ready for execution at a moment's notice. Alongside them sat the Presidential Emergency Action Documents, or PEADS. Most remain secret to this day. The few that have surfaced outline protocols for transferring nuclear launch authority if the president or top command were killed or cut off. Some analysts, citing Congressional Research Service briefings, believe these documents could have delegated apocalyptic power to airborne command posts or even automated systems under certain conditions. But the details are still locked away. What's clear is the intent: to guarantee retaliation and continuity, even after national annihilation. These documents and target lists expose a human-written blueprint for the end of civilization, drafted in advance and kept hidden from the public. The sheer scale and secrecy of these plans set them apart, offering a chilling glimpse into the machinery behind mutually assured destruction. Coming to the top 3, the 1979 NORAD false alarm incident stands as a terrifying reminder of how close the world came to nuclear war by accident. In the early hours of November 9th, NORAD's warning screens suddenly lit up with the unmistakable signature of a massive Soviet strike. 250 incoming missiles, then thousands more. Bombers were readied, interceptor jets scrambled, and the airborne command post was launched. National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski was moments away from waking the president with news of Armageddon. The cause? A technician had accidentally loaded a training tape into a live computer, feeding simulated attack data directly into the real command network. No missiles had been launched, but the system treated the exercise as reality. Only rapid cross-checks with radar and satellite feeds prevented disaster. The incident lasted just minutes, but it forced sweeping reforms. Training and live systems were physically separated. Software barriers were installed to prevent test data from reaching operational consoles. Cheyenne Mountain's protocols were overhauled, and every step of the launch process now demanded multi-source confirmation. The lesson was clear. Even the most advanced warning network could turn a simple glitch into the end of civilization. This close call fueled both sides' push for more reliable, even automated doomsday systems, the logic that would soon give birth to the Soviet perimeter, or dead hand. Like and subscribe for grounded breakdowns of Cold War doomsday tech. Number 2. Perimeter, known in the West as dead hand, stands as the closest the world has come to a real doomsday device. Conceived by Soviet planners in the late 1970s, Perimeter was built to answer a single chilling question. What if a nuclear attack wiped out every leader, every command post, and every phone line in the Soviet Union? The solution was a semi-automated network designed to guarantee retaliation, even if no one was left to give the order. Perimeter's core was a suite of sensors, seismic, radiological, atmospheric, and light detectors, buried in bunkers and scattered across Soviet territory. These devices watched for unmistakable signs of nuclear detonations. At the same time, the system monitored communications with the Kremlin. If both triggers were met, nuclear blasts detected and command silence confirmed, Perimeter could take over. But it wasn't always on. The system only armed during extreme crisis, when senior officers in deep underground posts turned the key. Once activated, Perimeter became a silent sentinel. If its criteria were met, it would launch a special command rocket, a radio transmitter missile, high above the Soviet Union. This rocket's sole job: broadcast launch orders to every surviving missile silo, submarine, and bomber. The sequence was fully automated from that point. No human hand was needed to finish the job. According to Colonel Valery Yarinish, a key system designer, this was both its power and its terror. Perimeter was conceived to guarantee deterrence, but my greatest fear was always unintended launch. Testing in 1984 revealed the risks. Soviet missile officers described technical glitches, delays, and last-minute design changes during the first full-scale trial. Telemetry confirmed partial success, but doubts about trusting software over human command lingered. Western analysts, including the International Institute for Strategic Studies, confirm Perimeter's existence and basic operation, but the details remain purposely ambiguous. Perimeter was never just a myth. It was the world's only documented, partially automated nuclear retaliation system. Armed only in crisis, waiting for the worst to happen, and ready to end civilization if every other safeguard failed. Its shadow still hangs over nuclear strategy today. Which device deserves S tier? Tell us below. And finally, in first place, the alleged autonomous oceanic doomsday system. No confirmed records, no photographs, no declassified blueprints. Yet for decades, this rumored weapon has haunted the margins of Cold War history. The idea is as simple as it is terrifying. A fleet of self-guided nuclear platforms buried deep on the ocean floor, programmed to wait in silence for the ultimate signal. If Moscow vanished under a nuclear barrage, these machines would stir to life, crawl toward enemy coasts, and unleash devastation on a scale no human could control. The roots of this legend trace back to the Soviet T-15 project, a massive nuclear torpedo designed to erase entire port cities. But where T-15 was a prototype, never deployed, the oceanic doomsday concept lives on in speculation. RAND and IISS analysts, piecing together scraps from declassified naval research, warn that the Soviets never stopped dreaming of a weapon that could survive any first strike. Some believe the idea evolved. From manned submarines to automated drones, from single warheads to networks of robotic launchers, each one able to wait years, even decades, for a coded pulse from a vanished command. No document proves these platforms were ever built. Western intelligence agencies, combing through Soviet naval budgets and construction logs, found hints, funds marked for seabed installations, unexplained test detonations in the Arctic, sudden surges in deep-sea engineering. But every trail runs cold. Russian Ministry of Defense statements, when pressed about oceanic retaliation, stick to ambiguity. All necessary measures exist to ensure unacceptable damage to any aggressor. The appeal of an automated oceanic doomsday device is obvious. Unlike land-based silos or even Perimeter's missile command rockets, a seabed platform could hide indefinitely, immune to satellite surveillance or airstrikes. Its very existence would force any adversary to assume that even a flawless first strike could never prevent retaliation. The logic is pure, mutually assured destruction, taken to its absolute, inhuman extreme. Yet the risks are just as clear. RAND cautions that a fully autonomous system, once activated, might never be recalled. A malfunction, a false trigger, even a simple software bug could unleash catastrophe without warning. Congressional Research Service reports from the 1980s echo the same fear. The more you remove human judgment, the closer you get to a world where a single error ends civilization. In the end, the autonomous oceanic doomsday system remains the ultimate Cold War ghost story. No evidence confirms it ever left the drawing board, but its shadow lingers in military doctrine, in arms control debates, and in the nightmares of those who studied the logic of nuclear war. As long as the oceans remain vast and unexplored, the possibility, however remote, cannot be dismissed. The highest tier belongs not to what is known, but to what might have been waiting, silent and patient, beneath the waves. Subscribe for more deep-dive tier lists on Cold War technology and history. Which device do you think deserves the S tier? Tell us below. From early warning radar networks to the rumored autonomous oceanic doomsday device, this tier list traces the escalation of Cold War deterrence into a realm of near science fiction. Across all 9 entries, a clear pattern emerges. Every advance, whether in sensors, command survivability, or automated retaliation, was designed to guarantee a response, no matter the cost. The most shocking entries, like the Soviet perimeter system and the speculative seabed device, reveal just how far superpowers were willing to go to ensure mutual destruction. These systems combined secrecy, massive destructive potential, and a chilling reliance on automation and fail-safes. Our ranking weighed global catastrophic impact, secrecy, and historical influence on nuclear policy. The journey from mechanical safeguards to unconfirmed underwater nightmares reminds us, in this category, the pursuit of absolute deterrence often meant building machines that threatened everyone, everywhere. The legacy of Cold War doomsday devices is a stark lesson in how fear and technology shaped the most dangerous weapons ever imagined. Subscribe for more deep-dive tier lists on Cold War technology and history. Which device do you think deserves the S tier? Tell us below.